After 40 years of violence and deep wounds, Turkey may be approaching an end to one of the Middle East's longest-running insurgencies. On July 11, 2025, the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, held a dramatic disarmament ceremony in Iraq's Kandil Mountains, handing over weapons to UN monitors in what officials described as a carefully negotiated confidence-building measure. Observed by UN officials, Iraq's federal government, the Kurdistan regional government, and European diplomats, the event marked the most serious attempt yet to close a bloody chapter that has killed over 40,000 people and shaped Turkish politics for generations. The PKK began in the late 1970s as a Marxist-Leninist guerrilla movement founded by Abdullah Öcalan, seeking an independent Kurdish state. In 1984, it launched an armed insurgency from southeastern Turkey and northern Iraq, waging bombings, assassinations, and cross-border raids. The Turkish government, which has always labeled the PKK a terrorist group, a view shared by the US and EU, responded with sweeping military campaigns, village demolitions, restrictions on Kurdish language media, and mass arrests of politicians accused of PKK ties, fueling decades of enmity and repression. A major turning point came in 1999 when Öcalan was captured in Kenya in a covert Turkish operation and sentenced to death, later commuted to life imprisonment on Imrala Island. Even from prison, Öcalan retained significant sway, at times calling for ceasefires, at other times backing renewed armed struggle. The last major peace attempt in the early 2010s led to a formal 2013 ceasefire, with PKK fighters withdrawing into Iraq. But that process collapsed in 2015 amid accusations of bad faith, sparking urban warfare, suicide bombings, and brutal crackdowns in Turkey's southeast. Against that backdrop, the 2025 disarmament ceremony stands out for its symbolism and stakes. PKK fighters in fatigues delivered crates of rifles to UN monitors, who logged serial numbers for eventual destruction. Though this first handover was small and largely symbolic, it is the start of a phased, internationally supervised plan to transform the PKK from an armed insurgency into a legal political movement. UN officials hailed it as a historic step, but warned that the road ahead would be hard, requiring all sides to honor commitments and address the conflict's deep political roots. PKK commanders at the ceremony admitted their armed campaign had failed to secure Kurdish autonomy, but rejected the notion of surrender, describing the move as a strategic shift to prove the Kurdish question can be solved politically. They called on Ankara to reciprocate with real reforms, easing restrictions on Kurdish language education, ending mass arrests of Kurdish politicians, and stopping the criminalization of pro-Kurdish parties. The Turkish government responded cautiously, describing the handover as important but incomplete, and warning that any breach would void the agreement. President Erdogan, who led the last peace initiative only to see it collapse, has avoided triumphalist rhetoric this time, aware of domestic nationalist backlash. Regional dynamics also played a role. Iraq's federal government and the KRG, frustrated by years of Turkish airstrikes on PKK bases, hope disarmament will stabilize their border and reduce military incursions. Internationally, the EU and UN have signaled willingness to help with post-conflict reintegration for ex-fighters, but many issues remain unresolved, including amnesty, relocation, and safety guarantees. Inside Turkey, reactions are sharply divided. Pro-government media praise the move as evidence of Ankara's resolve against terrorism, while Kurdish parties call it overdue and demand sweeping constitutional reforms. Nationalist opposition forces condemn it as appeasement, warning that PKK elements could simply regroup if concessions are granted too easily. Human rights groups cautiously welcome the move, but emphasize that without meaningful reforms addressing systemic repression of Kurds, any disarmament will be fragile and vulnerable to sabotage. Despite optimism, Turkish security forces continue counterinsurgency operations against remaining PKK cells, underscoring the fragile nature of this ceasefire. Yet after decades of bloodshed and trauma, this first step offers Turkey a rare chance to replace violence with dialogue and to pursue a lasting just peace for its Kurdish citizens.